God. Excuse my voice, Israel. But yeah, I want to say first and foremost, call halal Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai. So I praise to the Most High God, in the name of His only begotten Son, who the world eagerly calls Jesus Christ. Right? Don't forget to follow us on Facebook, IG, Twitter, Spotify, all of our socials, right? TikTok, whatsoever, man. Like, share, subscribe. Cash Apps a card, Dallas, support the troops, man. Don't muzzle the ox. But like I was saying, like I was saying on my community tab, on the community tab that I made about this live stream that I was gonna go into. This guy Tyler Perry has done it again, man. I posted on my on my chat. I said Medea done it again, man. No, Tyler Perry is responsible for a lot of what I would say drag queen type movies that kind of instill Christianized value. And when I mean Christian, I mean modern day Christian values into our people, and kind of makes it seem like it's okay for people to dress in drag. But that's neither here nor there. I just want to say that because some people know who he is, some people don't know who he is, right? So he's very popular in the black households in America, in Babylon the Great. So I want to show y'all what he said. I think it's something that broke yesterday that he said in an AARP interview. I can't find the interview, but I saw a lot of people reacting to the interview and saw the news articles about people reacting to the interviews. So let's look at what he said. Let me see if I can share my screen. I hope it's not acting up to it. There we go. There we go. Okay. I'm just going to react off the TMZ one, right? It says, Tyler Perry says, I don't want to talk race with my 7-year-old son yet, right? That's what he says. If y'all can find the interview, just link it in the chat. I'm gonna go find it actually. But this TMZ posted it. I think New York News posted it. There was a lot of different publications posted about it, right? He doesn't want to have the talk with his son about race. Well, let them know that, like, okay, you're a black man or you're a black woman and you're going to be discriminated against all your life just because of who you descend from, right? That's the talk that he wants to avoid giving his son. And we're going to read about it. I want to read these first few paragraphs, and I want to get into the actual title of this live stream. It says, Tyler Perry won't be having the talk with his son anytime soon because despite increased racial tensions in the country, like all the things that's happening racially and racially motivated things that's happening in America, right? He doesn't want to have to talk with his son in the midst of all that, but okay. It says he doesn't want a 7-year-old to have to think about those issues, not yet, right? And here's the thing, right? Because I'm a father. Like I have two wives. Both of my wives have a child, right? I have 2 children, and I kind of sympathize in a way. Looking at it from a sense, in a way, I don't want to expose my child to certain things of this world. But the thing is, with this issue, you're going to have to expose them because they're already exposed to it. Whether you want to accept it and whether they want to accept it, that's our reality. Being so-called really blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, but in this context, black men. That's something. This is our reality. This is what we have to deal with on a daily basis. No matter if we're 50, no matter if we're 60, no matter if we're 30, 20, any age, hell, 1. Slocky. So, let me see if I can turn this off. I don't think I can. Whatever, right? I'll check the chat periodically. Since my phone wants to be stupid. Come. Okay. I need another setup. But like I was saying before, this is our reality. Whether we want to accept it or not, no matter what age we are, we have to inform our children that these people, right? I'm gonna use code words. So I don't want you to be on some strike stuff, man. These people will persecute you from when you were born all the way until you die. Your life is going to be 2 times harder than these other people. Your life is going to there's going to be so many roadblocks in front of you in your life because of these people, right? And it's never going to stop. And the earlier you have that conversation with them, the better they're going to be and be in a more advantageous situations in their life. They'll be in more advantageous situations in their life instead of pretending like these things don't exist. What are we going to wait until something happens to them? We're going to wait till the police kill them. We're going to wait till these people do whatever they want to him. No, we need to inform them now so they can be put in more advantageous positions in their life. That's how you actually show that you love your child. We're going to get into that later. I'm going to finish this article. It says, or this first half of this article, right? It says Tyler opened up about this critical parenting decision. It is a critical thing, parenting decision, during an interview with AARP. Yes, he's over 50, where he said he wants to wait as long as possible to talk to Amon about race and racism in the world. It says he explained, I don't want to tell him that there are people who will judge him because of the color of his skin. And it's not even just the color of our skin. It's because, now I'm going to introduce the Bible. It's because we have the promise. It's because we are the promised children of God. It's because of who we are. It's not just because of our skin color. Because you have people who come from Africa who will come over here and not have to deal with any curses. They'll have businesses. They'll have hair businesses out, and I know they have that in Dallas. Hair businesses. They have places for all their wives. They're all working all together. Things like that. They don't have to deal with the curses, yet they have the same skin color as us, or close to it. We are getting judged because of our nationality and who we are to God. But I'm going to read this again. As he explained, I don't want to tell him that there are people who will judge him because of the color of his skin, because right now he's in a school with every race, just like all of our children who's in public school right now. It says, and all these kids are in their purest form. When he describes his friends, he never defines them by race. And the thing that I have multiple problems with that last sentence, right? The very first time I was called the N-word was in elementary school by these people, and not even just Caucasians, by multiple different races. I was called the N-word hard ER. And matter of fact, back it up. If anybody had Xbox Live during the Modern Warfare, anybody who's a gamer around the age in their 20s will understand this. Anybody who's around like 20 or so, remember in Modern Warfare 2, in them lobbies, you're going to get called the N-word by people who is 7 years old, who are Caucasians and other nationalities. Racism is always and will continue to be instilled in these people as long as they live, because their spirit is not upright. And we're going to get into all that in the scriptures. So now that I've read these 3 passages, I want to go back into the title of this video, right? Because it says, Tyler Perry, I don't want to talk race with my 7-year-old son yet. But I asked at the very end of the title that I gave to this, is that biblical? So let's see if that's biblical. Let's go into some scriptures and see a biblical approach to this. Let's go to Proverbs chapter 22, verse 6. I want to look at that in the NIV. Tiffany Perry. Jake. Well, okay, right. This is Proverbs 22, verse 6. It says, start children off on the way they should go, and even when they are old, they will not return from it. So it says, start a child off on the way he should go. Just like my child, Josiah, he's going to be brought up in the law, statutes, and commandments. I'm going to start him in that. See, for us, you have people who are like in their 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, went their whole life serving Christianity, serving the world, celebrating Christmas, Easter, all these things that's really condemning us to death, right? Because we weren't start off the right way. We got set up. We got set up in a disadvantageous position in our life. We got started off in a way that's going to bring us unto death. So the scripture says, start your child off in the way you should go. And if you even want to look, if you don't even want to bring the whole, like they say, Hebrew Israelite or Black Hebrew Israelite way into it, if you know that you're eventually going to have this talk with your child, why not get it out the way so he knows how to maneuver in life? That's you starting your child off in the way they should go, and they won't depart from it. They will hold on to this. That's what God says. That's what the scripture says. And it's okay for me to bring this out against him in this situation because he believes in the Bible, right? So called believes in the Bible. He even had a sermon at what's the dude in Texas? Joel Osteen's church, right? And he went into Genesis 22. So all this is on the table now. Since you want to so-called believe in the Bible, right? So Proverbs 22 verse 6 says, start children off on the way they should go, and even when they are old, they will not turn from it, right? So we have to be starting our children off in the right way. We have to be letting them know what's up immediately so they know how to move and maneuver in life. So let me get Zechariah 1:15. Right, because I want to approach this in a way that, like, if it was me trying to sit down and teach my child, what's up? Zechariah 1:15. I'm looking at it in the, what translation do I want? I'm gonna read in the KJV, and then I'm gonna read the other translation. This is Zechariah 1:15. It says, I am very sore displeased with the heathen that are at ease, right? Because the heathen that are at ease are the people who's oppressing us, the people who's going to oppress you as a child all the way to a grown man. I'm speaking from a position of I'm teaching my son this, right? These people who are at ease, the Lord doesn't like that. The Lord doesn't like the position that they're in. The Lord doesn't like that they're oppressing his chosen people, right? It says, for I was but a little displeased, and they helped forward the affliction, right? So let's look at that in another translation. It said they forwarded the affliction. There's the meaning words. Let me see. Yeah, I'm looking at GNT. And it says, and I'm very angry with the nations that enjoy quiet and peace. Because that's what these other nations enjoy. They don't have to deal with the curses of Deuteronomy chapter 28, and I believe Leviticus 26. They don't have to deal with those. They don't have to deal with calamities between each other. They don't have to deal with calamities in the households. And I mean that in totality, right? They get to go up their wealth system they have allows them to maneuver through life peacefully in comparison to what we have to go through, right? Because you'll have someone say, I didn't have what they call white privilege. Yes, you did. Your white privilege is you get to walk your streets and don't have to worry about stop and frisk. You get to walk on the land which your forefathers stole and passed it to you, and passed the ownership of slaves to you in a different form or fashion. You get to jump out your car and tell a cop what the F you want, and then he at the most he's gonna tase you. You have this entire world set out for your benefit. That's your quiet and your peace. But look at this. This is for a while I was holding back my anger against my people, right? Because and what let's go into what this means. Holding his anger back from his from his people. I mean against my people, right? Because he wanted to allow us to go into captivity and get touched by these other nations, right? To allow them to basically be a chastening agent, allow them to be somebody who really is kind of like a figurative belt for that ass, right? Anybody growing up with the black household, you know what that belt, you know what that switch does, and that's what these other nations do. And he allowed that to happen, not to destroy us. Because let me get this in Baruch, and we're going to come back to this. Let's go to Baruch. Matter of fact, I'm just going to leave this where it is. Let's just open up a new tab. Was it 4 and 6? Yeah, Baruch 4 and 6. It says, "You were sold to the nations, not for your destruction." So the Lord held back a part of his anger because he could have just wiped us out with these other nations. He could allow them to come and kill us, and then the nations just inherit the world, do whatever they want to do. But it says, "But because you moved God to wrath, you were delivered unto the enemies." We weren't sold for our destruction. We were sold because we moved the Lord into wrath. And it says, I'm gonna go to verse 7. I forgot. I should leave all this in context. It says, "For you provoked him that made you by sacrificing unto devils and not to God. Ye have forgotten the everlasting God that brought you up, and ye have grieved Jerusalem that nursed you." Right. So he did this not to ultimately destroy us, but to correct us. We made him mad, just like how you make your fathers mad when you disobey him. He brings that belt out, or he brings that switch out. And God forbid he brings that switch out because you're not sitting down for a minute. And you know what that switch is? The Edomites, all the rest of the nations, putting us into captivity for sacrificing unto devils. That's what that is. But the other nations aren't going to show us that type of compassion. Whether because the Lord is going to put us in captivity. He's going to allow us to be here until we get it right. These other nations don't care about that. These other nations will go ahead and kill you and not show any pity to the young or the old. And so these nations have made the sufferings of my people worse because they don't have that type of compassion like the Lord has. They don't care. And knowing that, you should teach your children that. They're not going to care. They're not going to care if you're 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60. They're not going to care. They're going to destroy you. They're going to kill you. They're going to oppress you and do whatever they want to you until you die. That's who these people are. That's what I'm going to tell my son because I see it. I lived it. I'm 29 years old. I just turned 29 last month, right? And I've seen it all my life. All my life. I've seen my family members go through it. I've seen it personally happen to my dad while I was in front of the dentist office. I've seen this all my life, and I see how they do my people. So of course I'm going to teach my children the same thing. I'm going to teach them to acknowledge the same thing. And the reason why they do it, and here's the thing: we can't just say, "Oh, they're just going to do it." We have to explain why they're going to do it. They have this right here. Let's go back to this. Ezekiel 35. Ezekiel 35, verse. I'm going to start at 2 to get the context. It says, "Son of man, set thy face against Mount Seir and prophesy against it." Mount Seir is where Edom is. This is what you would call the Caucasians, right? Mount Seir. Now I'm going to jump to verse 5. It's because thou hast had a perpetual hatred. Let's see what perpetual means. Because these Edomites will have a perpetual hatred. Let's see what perpetual means. It says never ending or changing. They have a perpetual hate. What did that one say? Occurring repeatedly, so frequent as to seem endless or uninterrupted. And we see that through everything we've dealt with since we've been here. The fact that they got us from the swords of West Africa, sold us into captivity, sell us amongst themselves, right? We worked for centuries. They so-called give us the Emancipation Proclamation, which really transfers the ownership from the private settlers into the United States, right? Have the black codes, have the Jim Crow laws, Tuskegee experiments, redlining, segregation, right? All these laws, all these. Matter of fact, hold up, I forgot one. The Bill of Rights. The Bill of Rights, the Constitution, and everything America stands on. They say things like, "Well, every man is created to be equal." But how can every man be created to be equal if you have slaves at that time? I know what that means. That means y'all are equal. That has nothing to do with us. This entire nation, the people who run it, have nothing to do with us. And it exemplifies everything they've done. Has exemplified perpetual, never ending, never changing. So frequent, like I'm using the definition of the word, so frequent that it seems endless, hatred towards us. All you got to do is open up a history. I remember looking at Texas, bro. Growing up in Texas, right? I don't know if they have to. I don't know if you have to do this for every state in America, right? We had this thing called Texas history. Reading that book, reading that history book, there's no way a black man, black, Hispanic, or Native American man should feel comfortable in this place. Seeing all the perpetual evils that they've done to us. So it says, because thou hast had a perpetual hatred and has shed the blood of the children of Israel by the force of the sword in the time of their calamity and the time that their iniquity had in. Therefore, as I live, saith Yahweh God, I will prepare thee unto blood, and blood shall pursue thee. Since thou hast not hated blood, even blood shall pursue thee. And that's why the other nations always have a problem, because it's really going at the end of the day, going into us overcoming them. But that's how the other nations are always at the neck for what they do. Since you decided to touch Israel, now you're about to have a problem. But the key point I wanted to make on this is verse 5. They have a perpetual hatred towards us. And they always will. There's no way we can see from, let's just start at the 1600s, all the way till now. That's 400 years of never changing. That's perpetual. Occurring repeatedly, just like all the things, all the laws they made against us, all the oppressions they've done towards us, right? Occurring repeatedly, so frequent as to seem endless and uninterrupted. Their oppression to us has never been interrupted. At what point has it been interrupted? And it's been restored. Or even to take the restoration out of it, when has it been interrupted? Like, that's what we have to deal with as being a black man. And I'm going back to the point of me saying this from a point of, this is what I'm telling my son. This is who these people are, and this is how they always will be. Because the Lord created them to have perpetual hatred towards us, right? Because their soul is not upright. This is Habakkuk chapter 2, verse 4. It says, behold, his soul which is lifted up is not upright in him. There goes my phone. Salakia. All right, I'll be back. It says, behold, his soul, I'm going to call it, read again. Habakkuk chapter 2, verse 4. Behold, his soul which is lifted up is not upright in him. Their soul isn't upright. Lifted up is going to them having pride, right? Like they say, they're proud to be American. At least they know they're free, supposedly, right? That's how their soul is made. Their soul is made to be the corrupt people. Their soul is made to be those who have perpetual hatred towards the people of the promise. Going back into Esau and Jacob, how Esau came crying and begging for his blessing, which Jacob got, which the Lord commanded for him to have. Because you have Christian apologists say, "How dare Jacob steal his birthright?" Well, the Lord said it was meant to go to him. So what are we going to do about that? Right? So it even goes back to Jacob and Esau. Esau was crying and begging for his blessing. And then Esau to do what? Kill Jacob. That's what he tried to do. And just like Sirach says, a man's going to be known in his children do the same thing to the so-called black, Hispanics, and Native Americans. Why? Because his soul is not upright in him. That's what I would tell my son. Whether it be man, woman, child, old man, all of them are like that. So you have to be weary of those things. It says, but the just, those who are justified, that's going into us, but the just shall live by his faith. And you would ask, what does that mean? Right? Let's go into what our faith is. This is Revelation 13, verse 10. It says, he that leadeth into captivity shall go into captivity. So just as they led us into captivity and how we're found in their hands right now, he that leadeth into captivity shall go into captivity. He that killeth with the sword must be killed with the sword. Here is the patience and faith of the saints. This is what we're patiently waiting on. So right now they have power over us. Right now, they can do whatever they want to us. They can have Karen right now calling the police with her crocodile tears, say whatever she want, and you're going to jail or you could get shot. That's happening to us now. That can happen to you. We remember what happened to Emmett Till. Emmett Till wasn't very old. That could happen to any of us. But we have patience and faith that the Lord will create a complete paradigm shift and a turning of upside down of what's going on in the power structure in the world. That's what this really means. He that leads in captivity shall go into captivity. That's the first shall be the last. That's the last shall be the first. That's the people at the bottom shall now overtake those who are at the top right now. Those are the kings and queens going into captivities and with fetters of iron. That's what that is. That's what we're patiently waiting on. And that's what you should wait on by keeping these commandments and pushing forward towards this. Because they're going to persecute you. Lamentations 4, verse 18. It says, they hunt our steps that we cannot go in our streets. Right? And we see that happening to us. We see that been happening to us for decades, actually. Right? Because it says they hunt our steps. Wherever we go, they're going to find you. Hell, they got heat-seeking goggles. They can see you in your house right now. They got drones that can do that right now. When you're walking down the street, I remember I think it was New York where they had stop and frisk. You walking down the street and you got to stop because the policeman said so, right? Which disproportionately affected blacks and Hispanics more than anybody, right? They could just stop you wherever you at and say, and then frisk your pockets to see if you have anything. They hunt our steps. Hell, being out here in Dallas, Texas, cops are rolling around the hood. We're used to that now. They don't be out there like that. When you go to like Frisco and Plano and what else? The Colony, they not swarming around like that over there. They just ducked off trying to catch people speeding. But when you went in places like Oak Cliff, when you in just Dallas, just in general, right? The Commonwealth of Dallas, like outside of the city, right? But the little suburban area outside the cities, right? They're just swarming around the corner, just sitting there waiting for you. The Bible is a real and true book because we see all these things happening to us in real time. People want to talk about, the biblical times. We live in the biblical times. All this stuff is relevant. This isn't just a black dude just trying to freaking convince y'all of something. This is things we see. We see this to this day. As they hunt ourselves, we cannot go in our streets. Our end is near. Our days are fulfilled, for our end is come. Right, and this latter clause is talking about us going into captivity. It says our persecutors are swifter than the eagles of the heaven. And let's take a look at what America's sign is. Look at this. See the symbol of America, right? What is that? The bald eagle, huh? It says the founding fathers made an appropriate. I definitely agree with this. Made an appropriate choice when they selected the bald eagle as the emblem of the nation. The fierce, look at that. Oh, remember that. The fierce beauty and proud independence of this great bird aptly symbolizes the strength and freedom of America. That's just the irony of that, right? The strength and freedom of America. But remember that, the fierce beauty and their strength. So let's go back to Lamentations, right? See, our persecutors are swifter than the eagles of the heaven. They have pursued us upon the mountains. They lie wait for us in the wilderness. That's what they do to us. They've always lying and waiting for us. They've always done this. They've always been the people trying to catch us in something. Even where the because look at this. Watch this, right? Let me show you how crazy this is. The police do that to us. What is the origin? What is the origin of the police in America? Slave catchers. Slave catchers waiting for you waiting for you in between these plantations to catch you, to bring you back to bring you back to your persecution. They've laid in wait for you in the wilderness. The wilderness is the undeveloped areas where nothing's built. In between the plantations. Look at that. Let me see what that says in the Hebrew. I think this is the one that means like uninhabited land. Yeah, uninhabited land, wilderness, large tracts of wilderness. That's where they've been. That's where they've always been. They're doing the same exact thing that they've always done since they've had us here in America, and since they've been Edom, just in general. Well, look at this. Look at this. Let's go to some common English Bible. Right. Now, I'm glad I left this tab open. We're going to jump right back to this. Deuteronomy. Yeah, that's exactly what I want. Let's go to Common English. If y'all know about the Common English Bible, I definitely recommend it because it goes hard. Let's see. All right. This is Deuteronomy 28, verse 47, all the way down to 50. All the way down to 50 in the Common English Bible. It's because you didn't serve Yahweh, your power, joyfully and gladly above all else, right? And this is something I will say to my son, because he's going to ask, okay, Father, why are we in this position? Why are we going through what we go through? Why am I going to go through what I'm going to go through in the future? Why is it like this? This is the answer to that. Because you didn't serve the Lord, your God, joyfully and gladly above everything else. Since we decided to not keep the commandments of God, since we decided to go up against them, like it said right here, I'm going to read this, Baruch 4 and 6. You were sold to the nations, not for your destruction, but because you moved God to wrath, you were delivered unto the enemies, for you provoked him that made you by sacrificing unto devils and not to God. That's what you've done. That's what we did. Because we are these people. Because the thing is, we are these people. Because all the verses we just read fits us more than anybody else, man. I'm like that. Like we're not about to just pretend like all these verses didn't just fit accurately what's going on with the situation with Black, Spanish, and Native Americans and our oppressors in general. We're not about to pretend like that didn't happen. So we are these people. But since we didn't serve the Lord our God joyfully and gladly, right? You will serve your enemies, just like I said in Baruch 4. You will serve your enemies, the ones Yahweh will send against you during famine, drought, nakedness, and total deprivation. We're going to serve them in want of everything. We are deprived. Since we decided not to serve Yahweh, we're deprived of any of the help and all the blessings that He's going to give us. That's what this is saying. When he says serve them in want of all things, it's deprivation. It literally just means deprivation from God. Let's see what deprivation means. It says the damaging lack of material benefits considered to be basic necessities of society. This is why it says one of all things. We're going to lack all these things. It's the material benefits considered to be basic necessities of society, like water, like food. Like it says poverty, similar to poverty, impoverishment, penury. I don't know what that word means. What does that mean? Extreme poverty, destitution, hardship, destitution, the lack or denial of something considered to be a necessity, right? Oh man, archaic. The act of depriving someone of office, especially of ecclesiastical office, right? And what's supposed to be our office? What position and lot we're supposed to be? Rulers and kings on this earth. We're deprived of that, and given poverty and impoverishment, penury, privation. What does that mean? It's a state in which things that are essential for human well-being, such as food and warmth, are scarce or lacking. Wow, that's the position we're going to be in for transgressing these commandments. That's matter of fact, that's the position we're in right now for transgressing the commandments of God. Like even now, but we live in paycheck to paycheck, bro. I know for sure I'm living paycheck to paycheck. That all that is because of our transgressions, because of how we act towards our Father. As you will serve your enemies, the ones that will sing, the ones Yahweh will sing against you during famine, drought, nakedness, and total deprivation. God will put a yoke on your neck until He has wiped you out. And here's the thing: this isn't literal. If it's wiped out there, if this happened, if we're gonna read this literal, wiped out literally just means we won't exist anymore, and you know we still do now, or else you wouldn't even see the curses on anybody. So this wipeout is going to a total mental and spiritual destruction, and physically. If you want to think about it, because it talks about the famine and drought and nakedness and total deprivation, but it's not literally not on a literal you won't exist anymore type thing. It says Yahweh will bring a distant nation, one from far ends of the earth, against you as fast as the eagle flies. Oh, huh. What a coincidence that is, right? Because where did the people from America? Where did the people from Europe come? Well, I already said it. The Europeans, the Dutch, the Portuguese, all of them came from a distant land from us. They came and took it, and we didn't know their language. We see this happening, like bro. Like there's it's crazy how you have that maggot vocab and all these other Christian apologists want to accuse us of trying to read ourselves into the Bible. But who does this fit? Who does this fit? It says a stern nation, because in the KJV it says a fierce nation. Let me see if I got. Look at that. Let's look at this. Deuteronomy 28 verse. Right? It's a nation of fierce countenance. Now let's go back into that bald eagle again. Right? It says the bald eagle. It says the founding fathers made an appropriate choice when they selected the bald eagle as the emblem of the nation, the fierce beauty and proud independence of this bird aptly symbolizes the strength and freedom of America. Of course it does. Of course all this happened so that we can see these scriptures and be like, where's that, the KJV? Yeah. But look at this. Okay, there we go. It's a stern nation. It says stern instead of fierce. It's pretty much the same thing. Yeah, serious, unrelenting, especially in assertion of authority and of exercise of discipline. Yeah, that sounds just like them. Strict and severe, using extreme measures and terms. Like chopping a child out, basically hanging a woman who's about to give birth, a black woman who's about to give birth, cutting the child out and then stomping it in front of the rest of the slaves and her husband. That sounds like a pretty fierce and stern nation. It says a stern nation that doesn't go easy on the very old or show pity on the very young. And that's what I would tell my son. That's what I would tell, because they're not going to show pity on you because you're 7. They're not going to show pity on you because you 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, whatever. They don't care. We've seen that throughout history, but now since we got money, right, we want to pretend like that doesn't exist. Since now we're affluent, right? I'm gonna use words like that. Since you've gone into some money, got some money and became affluent through your drag queen exploits, right? use the vocabulary words right there. Since you become affluent and got money like that, and live around these other Caucasians, you think this doesn't exist. You can't outrun these. It's impossible for you to outrun these curses. Let me look at this. Where was this at? Yeah, Deuteronomy 28, verse 45. Moreover, all these curses shall come upon thee, and shall pursue thee, and overtake thee, till thou be destroyed, because thou hearkenest not unto the voice of Yahweh thy power, to keep his commandments and his statutes which he commanded thee. It says these curses shall pursue thee and overtake you. So it doesn't matter how high you get up in society, they're going to pursue you. And not only will they pursue you, they will overtake thee. Thee means you. So that's going to happen to you. These curses are going to happen to you no matter where you go. No matter how high you get, no matter how much money you get. Oprah is still regarded as a Negro to the rest of these people. No matter how much money she has. So to pretend like this doesn't exist just because you have money is ridiculous in itself. And you're setting your son up to be in less advantageous positions. And I'll give a perfect example of that. The killing of Tamir Rice, right? This is something black people should know. And this is something black people and Hispanic and Native American people should understand, should know, should remember, and should teach their kids about things like this. I'm gonna read this. It's on November 22, 2014. Tamir E. Rice, a 12-year-old African American boy, was killed in Cleveland, Ohio, by Timothy, whatever the Edomite's name is. It says a 26-year-old white police officer. Rice was carrying a replica toy gun, right? You know those guns that they have. They have the orange little painting on the barrel. So you know it's a toy gun when you see it, like any regular person. As Tamir Rice carrying a replica toy gun, whatever his name is, shot him almost immediately upon arriving on the scene. So here's the thing. If anybody's seen this, I'm not about to show the video because of YouTube, right? This video is out here. You can go on YouTube and watch it or other places. This police officer sees a black kid, drives up, say hands up, blast him. Don't try to see what the situation is. Don't try to figure out what's going on, right? Just responds to a call talking about a kid had a gun, right? Pulled up and just shot him. I don't even matter of fact, I'm not even about to go there. But you have to realize this, bro. Who is this happening to? This ain't happening to everybody. The Tamir Rice ain't happening to everybody like it's happening to us. It's cool you can have this one outlier where you have this one Caucasian child gets shot, right, by the police, and it might be an accident or something like that. Here's a one or two, but there's so many stories like this with us. 12-year-old kid, right? And I'm not about to. And here's the thing: I'm not about to get on his parents about this, but I'm gonna add this little nugget to this whole situation. When I was growing up, my dad, every time he saw me have any type of toy gun in my hand, he slapped it out of my hand. I remember that. He would slap it out of my hand or yell at me, right? To the point to where I was afraid to just walk around with things like walk around with toy guns like that. I remember this. And it didn't make no sense whatsoever until I grew up and had a child myself. I'm like, you know what? It's probably not best for us for our kids to walk around playing with toy guns like this. Why? Because they shoot us. Because we are under the curses. A lot of things that I'm starting to realize that my parents did, right? When looking back on it, it didn't make no sense, but it makes a whole lot of sense now. And that's one of those. That's you putting your child in a more advantageous position. Putting your child in a position where something like this doesn't happen. And this should be an example of why you should teach your kids about racism, because they're not doing this to nobody else. You can watch this video right now. They hop out the car and shoot this little boy. Don't try to analyze or assess the situation or even de-escalate it like they're trained to do. right? They shot him. Officer gets to go about his life. That's what we have to deal with. This is why you teach your kids about. This is why you teach your kids about racism. This is why you teach your kids about what goes. This is why you teach your kids about what your life is going to be like. Let me get this precept. This is Sirach 9 and 13. I'm gonna read it in the G and T. Right? It says, if you keep away from someone who has the power to put you to death, you will not have to fear for your life. I'll read that again. It says, if you keep away from someone who has the power to put you to death, you will not have to fear for your life. And I will say this, my father did that. He put me, he by not allowing us to play with guns like out there on the streets, not do with certain types of things, and allow us to know what's up with the world. You're putting us in a position to keep ourselves away, or not put ourselves in a position to be put to death by the people who have the power to put you to death. In other translations, it says the authority. The common English, keep far away from people who have the authority to kill. Just like the police officers. Just like Karen, who has the ability to call the police on you. And give crocodile tears and have you on a t-shirt. Have your noodles cooked. Have your parents crying about you, or you crying about your child. That's why it's important to let your children know what's up. First and foremost, let them know who they are, but also let them know what's going on with the world. These people have the power to kill you and will not bat an eye about it and move on with their life. And you will be dead, and I will be without a child. That's worse than death. It says you will not have to fear for your life, but if you must go near him, like this is what I would say to my child. But if you must go near him, be very careful. Be very careful. Know what's going on. Be circumspect. Don't do this, don't do that. Because they will kill you. They have the authority to do so. And it says, or he may kill you. Be conscious that you are walking among hidden traps, that you are an easy target. Just like Tamir Rice was an easy target. They pulled up and shot him. 12 years old. 12 years old, when you pulled up and didn't try to analyze the situation, pulled up and shot this kid. And you knew it was a kid because on the police, where it says, because somebody called the police, it says a caller reported that a male was pointing a pistol at random people at the Cadell, I guess it's Cadell Recreation Center, a park in the city of Cleveland's Public Works Department. At the beginning of the call and again in the middle, he says of the pistol, it's probably fake. So the caller said it's probably fake. And it makes sense that he would say that because it says toward the end of the 2-minute call, the caller states that he's probably a juvenile, so he's a kid. So what ended up happening is the person who called the police said a child or not really adolescent, but juvenile, somebody running like 12, 13-ish, right? 12 years old in this case, was playing with a toy gun. Instead of trying to figure out what's going on, you pulled up and shot this kid to death. That's our reality being a Black and Hispanic and Native American man. That's what we have to go through. So, of course, we need to tell our children about what's going on. We need to let them know they need to be very careful. And if you care about your child and don't want them to end up on a t-shirt or an RP post, you will tell your kids about this. Crazy. But it says, be conscious that you're walking among hidden traps, that you are an easy target. We're an easy target, bro. In hidden traps, we're people who set up Matter of fact, let me get this out. I always pull this verse. Yeah, 42:22. I wonder what it says in Common English. It says, "But this is a people plundered and looted, everyone trapped in holes and and hidden in dungeons." Right? In other translations, it's in KJV, it says prison houses. Right? It says they have become a plunder, and there is none to rescue. Loot with I don't know why it says loot with no one to say give it back. Nobody wants to restore us, and we have traps everywhere among us trying to come and get us. So it's imperative to let your child know what's up, bro. What are we doing? Like what are we doing? Ain't no point in trying to fight with them. Ain't nobody trying to do any. Ain't no point in trying to do this thing where you're gonna flex your. It's kind of ridiculous, right? Now, I'm gonna pull this precept out too, right? And I don't want this to be taken the wrong way, but it's I find it hilarious for people, especially people in the truth, to say they know their rights and they want to flex against a police officer. What rights do you have? Those rights, you talk about the Bill of Rights, you talk about the Constitution that wasn't written for you, that was written for the people who had you in captivity, writing things about how it's supposed to be, it's every man is created equal while having you in captivity and not equal to them. Those are the rights you flexing, the white man's rights. Like that, well, how is that? How is that ever? Like, how is that going to help you out in your situation? You're going to prove a point. Have you seen what happens with our people who try to prove a point with the people who have the ability to kill us? They get put to death. And me loving you, like saying this like I'm talking to my child. Me loving you, I don't want you doing that. I want you doing this. Matthew 5:25. Agree with thine adversary quickly, whilst thou art in the way with him, lest at any time the adversary deliver thee to the judge, and the judge deliver thee to the officer, and thou be cast into prison. How many stories or how many videos have we seen about somebody being cast into jail talking about they know their rights and they're about to flex it with the cop? How many videos have we seen of kids dying behind that? How many times do we have to see that before we realize that don't work? And we realize that we don't have no damn rights in this place. How long is that going to take? Like there's a certain type of way we have to operate being Black, Hispanics, and Native Americans, and that's a talk we all should have had with our parents, or been faced with the harsh reality in the world, and not giving that to your child is setting them up for failure. You're setting them up for failure. To preserve what? To pretend like the situation it's almost like drinking your problems away. You drink alcohol and it makes you forget about your problems, but when you come back down, your problems are still there. So for what? Like what does it benefit you? Like this is what you're doing when you don't want to tell your child about how this world works, and letting them mess around and find out. What you should do is prepare them, right? What you should do is come into this truth and realize you're an Israelite, and prepare them for what the world is going to give them. And give them that true faith, which it says in Revelation 13, verse 10. So he that leadeth into captivity shall go into captivity. He that killeth with the sword must be killed with the sword. Here's the patience and faith of the saints, right? We are going to get ours, right? I would say Jake is up next. We up next. We got to bear but for a time, right? Because we have to pay for what our forefathers did, right? Just like how they're going to have to pay for their. It's crazy. We be at camp. That's a side story, right? We be at camp and you have all these. You have people saying, "Why do I got to pay for what my forefathers did?" The same way we have to pay for what our forefathers did. What is that? Let me get this. We're gonna come back. This is born on. I think it was born on griefs. I misspelled that. So what is that? What is that? Our fathers have sinned. Fathers have sinned. Yeah. Uh. Yeah. Lamentation 5 verse 7. I'm reading KJV. I wonder what the other translation said. It says, our fathers have sinned and are not, like they're dead. Like our forefathers sinned and are dead, and we have borne their iniquities. So us being Israelites, we have to bear the punishment for what our forefathers have done. We see that through the curses. We already went through all that to get to this point now. And for somebody to say, for another nation to say that it's wrong for us to have to deal with what our forefathers did, that's like saying you have it better than God's chosen people. That is saying that, actually. You saying you have it better than God's chosen people, which is ridiculous. But back to this, right? There's going to be a whole paradigm shift. They have the power over you now, but you're going to get it in the future and forever. I'm going to start at verse 25. Revelation 2, verse 25 is, but that which ye have already, which is the scriptures, which is the commandments, which is the apostles that was given to us, which was Christ, which was the prophets, all that, the Bible, our heritage. That which ye have already, hold fast till I come. And he that overcometh what? Overcometh the world, and keepeth my works unto the end. To him will I give power over the nations. I always break this down. Power over the nations. That word nations right there means ethnos, where you get ethnicity. Power over the races. Just as like they have power over the races over us, right? We're going to get that over them when we overcome the world and hold fast to the commandments. That's what I'll tell my son, but now is not that time. So when you decide to not teach your children that and let them go about their life like it's sweet, right? But life just sweet for the Black, Hispanic, and Native American man. You're not starting your children off on the right path. Proverbs 22:6 again in NLT. It says, start children off on the way they should go, and even when they are old, they will not turn from it. You're not doing this. This is not like you want to sit here and teach a whole sermon at Joel Osteen's motivational building, right? I'm tired of calling that a church. Joel Osteen's motivational building. And when I use the Bible, how about you try using this? How about we start our children off on the way they should go, to where they don't fall victim to this world and be another Tamir Rice. How about we do that? How about we just do what the Bible says? Now, knowing that, I would also explain to my son, the Lord never wanted this whole utopian, dystopian, whatever the hell they want to call it, right? Society, right? Where they want all nations coming together. The Lord never wanted that. The same God we say we believe in, the God of the Bible, Yahweh, the tetragrams in Jehovah, Yahweh, Yahuwah, whatever the hell you want to call him, right? Whatever you're going to call him, the God of this Bible, right? His true name is Yahweh, but I'm just saying that just because, we got Israelites still calling on ridiculous names, right? But his name is Yahweh, right? The God of this Bible. He never wanted unity between the races. And there was a concerted effort by him to separate the nations. So I'm going to start with Sirach, and then I'm going to go into Genesis. This Sirach 13, G and T. It says every creature, right? What's a creature? A creation. Who created things? Yahweh created the Son created everything. Yahweh gets the glory behind that. And so every creature prefers his own kind, and people are no different. Just like how you see lions with the lions, hyenas with the hyenas, dogs with the dogs, cats with the cats, freaking giraffes with the giraffes. right? Animals stick close to their own kind, what their species is. People should be the same way. That's why it says people are no different. Just as animals, and who created the animals? Who set this order of creation so far? Yahweh. Just as animals of the same species flock together, so people keep company with people like themselves. That's what we should do. We don't need to be worried about having a friend named Brody or a freaking Karen or whatever their name is, right? Allowing them to have friends with them is going to now corrupt their judgment of who they are as a people. Because how weird of a conversation is it going to be to say the same, oh, your same friend right there is going to be oppressing you in the future, but still it's okay to still be friends with them. What kind of sense does that make? So what kind of sense does that make? That's just going to corrupt their judgment. It says verse 17. It says a sinner has no more in common with a devout person than a wolf has with a lamb. And what is look at this, right? A wolf is a predatory animal that preys on lambs. That no one be preying on lambs. Who's had a perpetual hatred for the lambs? And the lamb would be the lost children of Israel. Or let's just take the whole Hebrew Israelite path out of it. Black people, right? Black, Hispanic, and Native American people. Who has been a wolf unto them? All of the European nations. All of them. So what do we have in common with them? Nothing. It says rich people have no more in common with poor people than hyenas with dogs. And who was the affluent? Who is the people with power and status in this world? The so-called Caucasian man, so-called white man, the European nations. They have power to do all these. They have power to do whatever they want in this world. So what in common do we have? Just because you came out with some movies? He has, and what's sad about it, he has a whole YouTube video where he's on T.I.'s show talking about being black in Hollywood. Even when you had money, they were still treating you bad. So what are we talking about, man? It says the rich hunt down the poor just as lions hunt down the wild donkeys in open country. In the open country, it's the same way to do with us. So let's go into Genesis. Genesis 11. I'm going to just read all this, all the way to verse 9. It says, the whole earth was of one language and of one speech. And it came to pass, as they journeyed from the east, that they found a plain in the land of Shinar, that's Babylon, right? Shinar, and they dwelt there. And they said one to another, Go to, let us make brick and burn them thoroughly. And they had brick for stone, and slime had they for mortar, right? This is going to them building this ziggurat that you see in verse 4. This isn't a literal tower, it's a ziggurat. It says, and they said, Go to, let us build us a city and a tower whose top may reach unto heaven, and let us make us a name, lest we be scattered abroad upon the face of the whole earth. And the Lord, look at this, and the Lord, because like I said before, the Lord had a concerted effort into separating all the races of the world. This is where you see that. And the Lord came down to see the city and the tower, which the children of men builded. And the Lord said, Behold, the people is one, and they have all one language. And this they begin to do, and now nothing will be restrained from them, which they have imagined to do. They're all working together. And it says, Go to, let us go down and there confound their language, right? And this is going to giving all of them different languages. Confound their language that they may not understand another speech. So the Lord scattered them abroad from thence upon the face of all the earth, and they left off to build the city. Therefore, is the name of it called Babel. Is where you get Babylon from, Babel, because Yahweh or the Lord did there confound the language of all the earth, and from this did the Lord scatter them abroad upon the face of all the earth. So all the nations, all the races were together. If the Lord wanted all of them to be together and be all together working together, why did the Lord scatter them? The Lord scattered them because this is not what he wants. The Lord doesn't want all these nations together. He wants separation and has always been a separatist. Just off of reading the scriptures. Let's read some stuff in the law real quick. This is Deuteronomy 32, verse 7. So remember the days of old, consider the years of many generations, ask thy father, and he will show thee. Right? You wanted to teach your kids, but I mean that's another story. And he will show thee thy elders, and they will tell thee when the Most High divided to the nations their inheritance, when he separated the sons of Adam. Because that's where we all come from. The Lord separated the sons of Adam, and he set the bounds of the people according to the children of Israel. Right? So even in the law, even past Genesis, he's still a separatist. He still feels the exact same way. And this is something I would teach my child. Because we have to, if we're going to say this is our power, right? Because look, verse 9, for Yahweh's portion is his people, Jacob is a lot of his inheritance. If we are his inheritance, these scriptures are our inheritance as well. This is how he communicates with us. And this is how, and taking heed thereof, is how we get on the right path. This is what I'm going to teach my son. Our power is a separatist. Let's not be around these specific people because they will kill you. You are in captivity because of what our forefathers did. When you're around them, be careful. This is what we should do, right? And even going farther in the law, even out of that, even past that separation, there is another separation. Leviticus 20, verse 26, is that ye should be holy unto me. Holy means set apart, separated. For I, Yahweh, am holy, and have severed you from other people, that ye shall be mine. And how have the Israelites been the Lord's people? By making them going into covenant with them, being the covenant people. We are the covenanted people. That's why all this stuff has been happening to us. That's why these other nations have a perpetual hatred towards us, because we've been in a covenant with the Lord. And the other nations don't have that and are jealous of that, and that's why they do what they do to us. That's why we must be careful about how we move on this earth. This is what we should be teaching our children, if we love them. Because the thing is, look at this, Leviticus 19. We always go into this, but I want to slow down on this. Leviticus 19, verse 17. It says, thou shalt not hate thy brother in thine heart. So we're saying you're not supposed to hate your brother. Hating your brother is doing the inverse of this. It says, thou shalt in any wise rebuke thy neighbor. Thy neighbor is an Israelite. Let's prove that. It says, NIV, it says, thou do not hate a fellow Israelite. The other one says, do not hate your relatives. Any of your relatives. Which is also a fellow Israelite. So you're not supposed to hate your people by doing this one thing. Well, really, three things. It says, thou shalt anyways rebuke thy neighbor. Your neighbor is your fellow Israelite, and not suffer sin upon him. But let's see what rebuke means. This is the old way. Yeah, that's the old definition. Let me go into the Hebrew. Rebuke thy neighbor. Yikah. Yeah, it says to prove, decide, judge, rebuke, reprove, correct. Correcting somebody. This is what you do. Correct somebody. Reprove somebody. That's what reprove means. To reprimand, to consider somebody, reprimand, rebuke, reproach, scold, admonish. Right? Let's see what admonish means. To warn or reprimand someone firmly. So you should reprimand your child about what's going on. You should reprimand your child and let him know what's up. Warn him about what's going on. Reprimand him firmly. Advise him. Urge your child. Advise, recommend, urge, caution, warn, counsel, exhort. That's what we should be doing. If you love your child and not telling your child about what's going on in the world and his world specifically is hating your child. Tyler Perry is showing hatred towards the child by taking that stance. And anybody else doing that is doing the same thing. Thou shalt otherwise rebuke thy neighbor and not suffer sin upon him. Thou shalt not avenge nor bear any grudge against the children of thy people, but thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. Just like, because look at this, you love yourself to move a certain type of way. You love yourself you care about yourself and show effort to maintain yourself by moving a certain type of way. So wouldn't you correct your children to allow them to move a certain type of way if you love them? That's why I say there's no way you can love. That's why I also say why Christians don't love their neighbor, but that's besides the point. Right? You standing on this stance of you're not about to teach, you're not about to have the conversation about your child because you want to preserve his innocence. We're Black, Hispanics, and Native Americans, man. We're cursed people. We don't have innocence, nor do we have time for pleasantries like that. What are we doing, bro? What you would think after becoming 50 years old, living on this earth for 50 decades. 5 decades, right? That's 10. 5 decades. You have come to this conclusion. You would think. Let's read Deuteronomy 6. Lord of Christ. All right. This is Deuteronomy chapter 6, verse 1. It says, now these are the commandments. It's like it. Deuteronomy 6, 1. Now these are the commandments, the statutes, and the judgments which Yahweh, your power, commanded to teach you, that you might do them in the land where you go to possess it, that thou mayest fear Yahweh thy power, to keep all the statutes and his commandments, which I command thee, thou and thy son, and thy son's son. How are they going to keep them if you don't teach them? Thou and thy son's son, all the days of thy life. So no matter no matter the 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And that thy days might be prolonged. And like I said before, teaching your children of how the way the world works through the lens of the Bible, even just how the lens of the world, really, right? Teaching them what's up will stop this from happening. Or at least diminish it to a degree. It says that days may be prolonged. It says, hear therefore, O Israel, and observe to do it, that it may be well with thee, and that ye may increase mightily, as Yahweh power, Yahweh God, of thy fathers have promised thee, and the land that floweth with milk and honey. Hear, O Israel, Yahweh, our God, or our power, is one Yahweh. He's one. There's no Trinity. It says, and thou shalt love Yahweh thy power with all thine heart, and with all thy soul, and with all thy might. And these words which I command thee this day shall be in thine heart. And here's the point right here. And thou shalt teach them diligently unto thy children. Teach them diligently unto thy children, and shalt talk with them when thou sittest in thine house. And you're not doing that. You're not talking with them when you sit in the house. You're putting on a dress, dressing up like somebody's washed up grandma, and making jokes for the people who hate you. That's what you're teaching your child. This is what you need to teach your child. Thou shalt teach them diligently unto thy children, and shalt talk of them when thou sittest in thine house, and when thou walkest by the way, and when thou liest down, and when thou risest up. And thou shalt bind them for a sign upon thine hand, and they shall be as frontlets between thine eyes. And this is how our children should be operating. You should bind this upon your eyes first and foremost, and then bind them upon your children's eyes so they know how to walk. What do these other translations say? I use this one. I like this one. NLT, it says, tie them on your hands and wear them on your foreheads as reminders. This is supposed to remind you, to let you know how the world works. The Lord already gave you the break. And here's the thing, bro. It's 2022, right? On the Esau's calendar. That some Israelites like to use to try to derive the Sabbath, but that's another point, right? It's 2022. The Bible's been in front of us for so long. It's given us the breakdown for so long. All we got to do is pick it up and read it, man. All we got to do is apply this. The Lord gave us all the wisdom. What is that, Baruch? We're doing a lot of Baruch chapters today. Is it 3 and 26? Ways of understanding. Yeah. Baruch 36. It says, Baruch, was it 3? 3 and 36. It says, he hath found out all the way of knowledge and have given it unto Jacob his servant and to Israel his beloved. The Lord sat there and gave us all this wisdom and knowledge in these scriptures. Gave us a heritage to hold on to. Gave us something that we can use to prolong our life on the earth and prolong our children's lives. And put them in an advantageous situation to where they don't get pulled over by the police and get shot. Be walking outside their house, get shot. There's some things that are out of our control, but there's a lot of things that's inside of our control that the Lord has given us for wisdom. That the Lord has given us for wisdom to teach our children so that they can now have wisdom and let it be a reminder in front of between their eyes, so they can teach their children so we can be mighty. Because this has got, like, immediately when he said this, when I saw this, the first thing I thought of was like, damn, what about this? I don't want to see any more Tamir Rices. I don't want to see any more of these things happening to my people any longer. So we have to do the best. We have to operate as parents, right, to the best of our ability to allow our children and to teach our children to walk after these commandments so that we can live. Talks about those who keep those commandments shall live in them. But yeah, man, with that, I pray Tyler Perry repents. Hopefully he sees this video, right? I hope he sees this video and listens to the knowledge thereof, right? I want to say follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, Spotify. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, super chat, Cash App, Shakari Dallas, on go a long way. Right? Don't muzzle the ox. Call halal Yahweh by Hashem Yahweh Shai, and I'm going to say Shalom.